Resentment and hatred are like invisible weights that slow us down without our noticing. They linger in the corners of our minds, replaying old grievances and whispering fears for the future. The Stoics observed that these feelings aren't just unpleasant, they quietly shape the way we see the world and the choices we make. Just as a traveler carrying a heavy pack walks slower and tires sooner, a mind weighed down by negative emotions struggles to move forward. Recognizing the burden is the first step toward releasing it. Stoicism offers a unique lens to understand and work with these inner obstacles. Unlike philosophies that dismiss emotion or demand rigid detachment, Stoicism teaches awareness, discipline, and reflection. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This reflects a core Stoic principle. We don't need to extinguish our feelings or deny reality. We can respond to them in ways that build resilience, clarity, and calm. Folk stories echo the same wisdom. A village elder might show a child how to carry firewood efficiently, demonstrating patience and careful attention, not force or frustration. Stoicism treats the mind much the same way, training it gently to carry life's challenges without being crushed. And so, the question becomes, how can we take this ancient wisdom and turn it into practical steps that help us release resentment and hatred in real, everyday life? Over the next pages, we'll explore 4 actionable Stoic exercises that anyone can apply in their day-to-day world, simple techniques designed to transform the way we feel, think, and act in just 30 days. If the idea of letting go of resentment and living lighter speaks to you, don't let the conversation stop here. Hit subscribe so you can follow along with the rest of these Stoic practices. Tap like if you believe wisdom from the past can still guide us today, and drop a comment to share your own thoughts or experiences. Your story might be the one that inspires someone else to start their own 30-day journey. Exercise 1. Recognition and awareness. Resentment and hatred often grow quietly, almost like weeds in a garden. We barely notice them until they've taken root. The first step to freeing ourselves is simple yet powerful: recognition. The Stoics emphasized the importance of observing our thoughts with clarity and honesty. Epictetus advised, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Awareness allows us to notice when negative emotions rise, giving us the chance to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting on autopilot. Recognition is not about blaming ourselves or others. It's about noticing patterns and naming them. Imagine a blacksmith observing a small crack forming in a sword during forging. By acknowledging it early, he can adjust his technique before the damage spreads. In the same way, when we notice resentment bubbling up, we can examine it and prevent it from controlling our thoughts and actions. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Awareness is the first key to entering that retreat. This process also helps us see triggers more clearly. Certain people, events, or even words can repeatedly spark negative emotions. Folk stories often convey similar wisdom. A fisherman who observes which currents bring fish and which bring danger can adjust his nets accordingly. By recognizing the emotional currents in our lives, we can prepare ourselves to navigate them with less harm and more intention. Patience is essential in this practice. We aren't aiming to suppress or deny emotions, we're learning to observe them. A daily habit can be as simple as quietly noting, "I feel anger rising, I acknowledge it." This small act creates a space between the feeling and our reaction, making it less likely that resentment will spiral. Recognition, in this sense, acts as both a shield and a mirror. Over time, daily awareness transforms the way we relate to our own minds. What once triggered automatic bitterness becomes an opportunity to pause, reflect, and choose a different path. This first exercise lays the foundation for the other Stoic practices. By seeing clearly and honestly, we open the door to lasting emotional freedom and the ability to respond to life with calm, steadiness, and clarity. Exercise 2. Conscious forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as excusing others or pretending harm never occurred. In Stoic practice, conscious forgiveness is an intentional act to free yourself from the weight of negative emotions. Seneca wisely said, "Anger, if not restrained, is often more harmful to us than the injury that provokes it." Choosing to forgive is less about the other person and more about reclaiming your peace and stability. A practical way to understand this is through a simple folk story. A villager holds a grudge against a neighbor who took a goat by mistake. For days, he stews and complains, carrying the burden with every step. Then he realizes that the goat is gone, and holding on to anger only makes his own days heavier. By consciously forgiving, he sets the burden down, lighter and freer. This illustrates the Stoic view that resentment harms the bearer more than the source. The Stoics also emphasized perspective. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people act according to their knowledge, experiences, and nature. Whenever you are offended at someone's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Recognizing that mistakes and misdeeds are part of being human allows us to treat ourselves and others with compassion. Forgiveness becomes an exercise in understanding, not denial. Daily practice strengthens this discipline. You might take a quiet moment each day to reflect on past slights, acknowledging the feeling of anger and deliberately choosing to release it. Folk wisdom often echoes this. Just as a blacksmith tempers metal repeatedly to make it stronger, forgiveness strengthens the mind and cultivates emotional resilience. Each act of letting go reinforces calm and perspective. Over time, conscious forgiveness becomes a habit rather than a single effort. The Stoic approach teaches that resentment is a chain we choose to carry, or we can choose to put it down. By practicing forgiveness intentionally, we create a life where peace is accessible, bitterness diminishes, and we are able to navigate relationships and challenges with steadier hearts and clearer minds. Exercise 3. Changing the narrative and focusing on the present. One of the most effective ways to loosen the grip of resentment is to examine the story we tell ourselves about events. Resentment often thrives on repetition. Our minds replay past slights and imagined injustices over and over. The Stoics taught that our interpretation of events, not the events themselves, shapes our emotional experience. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By actively changing the narrative, we can shift our emotional state before bitterness takes hold. Changing the narrative does not mean denying reality. Imagine a traveler stuck in a storm. One person sees it as a disaster, another as a challenge that tests courage and adaptability. Folk stories often illustrate this. A village girl loses her basket of fruit to a sudden windstorm, but discovers wild berries on her path she wouldn't have noticed otherwise. Reframing the story doesn't erase difficulty. It transforms meaning and frees the mind from relentless replaying of wrongs. Focusing on the present complements this reframing. Resentment thrives in the past, replaying scenes long gone, or in the future, anticipating imagined betrayals. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Confine yourself to the present." By paying attention to what is actually happening now, the sights, sounds, and sensations around us, we cut resentment off at its fuel source. Even a few conscious breaths, or noticing the warmth of sunlight on your skin, can ground the mind and dissolve the tension of old grudges. This practice requires awareness and repetition. Each time resentment surfaces, pause and ask, "What story am I telling myself? Is it the whole truth, or is it coloring events to keep me upset?" Then turn attention to the present moment. Over time, these small acts of mindfulness reshape our relationship with past wrongs, gradually reducing their hold on us. Folk wisdom often echoes this. A blacksmith who tempers iron with careful strokes day after day produces a stronger, more resilient blade. Similarly, reshaping our inner narrative builds resilience. By combining the reframing of stories with present-focused attention, we create a powerful mental habit. The mind learns to notice, reinterpret, and redirect automatically. Resentment loses its habitual grip, and we discover that peace is not dependent on others but cultivated from within. This exercise sets the stage for the final steps in our Stoic journey: deeper emotional stability and lasting release from hatred. Exercise 4. Stabilization and long-term practice. Releasing resentment and hatred is not a one-time event. It's a process that deepens with daily attention and consistent practice. The Stoics understood that the mind is like a garden. It flourishes with care and withers without it. Seneca reminded us, "Every day, call yourself to account. What fault have you committed today? What virtue have you practiced?" This reflection is not punishment. It's a gentle, ongoing training that strengthens resilience and emotional clarity over time. Stabilization means embedding the lessons of recognition, forgiveness, and reframing into daily life. Think of a potter shaping clay. Repeated motions slowly transform a lump into a finely crafted vessel. Similarly, each day we pause, observe our emotions, and practice letting go. We reinforce new neural pathways that support calm and balance. Folk wisdom often reflects this principle. A shepherd who tends his flock carefully day after day ensures the herd thrives. Neglect, even for a short time, can let problems multiply unnoticed. Another crucial element of long-term practice is self-compassion. The Stoics emphasized that progress is gradual. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself, yet remember that you too are human." Each time resentment surfaces, it is not a failure but an opportunity to practice patience, to notice the emotion, and to redirect it. Recognizing the natural ebb and flow of feelings prevents discouragement and supports steady growth. Routine and ritual also help stabilize this practice. Small daily exercises, reflecting in the morning, reviewing the day in the evening, or pausing when a triggering thought arises, strengthen mental habits. Just as a musician rehearses scales to maintain skill, we practice Stoic exercises to maintain emotional freedom. Over weeks, these repetitions make the responses automatic. Resentment is noticed sooner, processed faster, and released more effectively. Ultimately, stabilization and long-term practice transform Stoic exercises from abstract ideas into lived habits. The mind gradually learns to pause before reacting, to see situations more clearly, and to return to calm more quickly. In 30 days, the repeated acts of awareness, forgiveness, and narrative adjustment begin to weave into the fabric of daily life, creating a lasting buffer against hatred and resentment, and a foundation for sustained inner peace. If you stayed with me all the way to the end, it means you've given yourself the gift of reflection, and that already sets you apart. The Stoics never promised a life free of hardship, but they did promise that through steady practice, we could face life with clearer eyes and a calmer heart. My hope is that these ideas will not just remain words on a page, but tools you carry into your own days, shaping the way you think, act, and respond. Remember, growth is not about sudden leaps, but small steps repeated with patience. Thank you for walking this path with me. May you continue it with strength, wisdom, and peace.